Inquirer has been a major resource for the Atlanta community, but especially back in that time when there was a lot of controversy about what we were doing and where there was a need for a voice for the students. It was out of that need, I think, that the Atlanta Inquirer came to be, and John Smith and I still talk about that. And you know, it's amazing how he stayed the course over all of these years. Now, I know it's become more difficult for black papers and black businesses generally to compete in an integrated society without having the same level of capital. But so I have a special appreciation for the Atlanta Inquirer, same as I do for Pascas, and I'm very pleased that Pascas has been able to continue to function and be successful. But as I travel throughout the country, there are many businesses that existed in a segregated society, black businesses, and there were not enough of them, who have not necessarily survived in the competitive world of business. And I think that's unfortunate, because I think we need to be more integrated in the business community and to have more capital to compete in the business community.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the movement lawyers, Donald Hollowell and Howard Moore Jr., and their impact on the students and the student movement.
Well, first let me start with Howard Moore. Hemp Holmes and I were classmates, and he went to Morehouse for the first 6 months, the first semester, and Howard Moore was his lawyer working to get him into the University of Georgia. And he was successful, so Hamilton Holmes left Morehouse in that second semester, I believe, and went to the University of Georgia and had a very successful experience there and ended up going to medical school, I think at Emory. Unfortunately, Hemp died fairly young, I think in his mid-50s, but I had occasions to get together with him, you know, after I came back to Atlanta. But I do remember his being, you know, there were two students. I don't know why I'm blocking on the name of the other student now, because she's so well known, but that's what happens when you get older. But anyway, the two of them went to University of Georgia, but Howard Moore was the attorney. Don Holloway was the attorney who was always there to make sure that we got a fair trial, and he got us out of jail most of the time. There was some business leaders like Jesse Hill and Q.V. Williams who would provide money for the students to go to bail for the students. But Don Hollowell and Howard Moore were attorneys who were always on the case there.
Georgia's Mr. Civil Rights, right? That's what
yes.
he was referred to in that time.
Tremendous history of contributions in that area. He was committed.
The Freedom Riders in Atlanta.
Well, the Freedom Riders, for the most part, came about after I had gone to medical school, and John Lewis and others who, many of them dropped out of school or delayed school for a year. What I remember most about the Freedom Ride is how they were attacked. I grew up in Anniston, Alabama, and I know how vicious racism was in Anniston. And as you know, the Freedom Riders were really attacked in Anniston. John Siegenthaler, who was working with Robert Kennedy and who went on to become editor of the Tennessean, and I had opportunity to work with him when I was president of Meharry. But John Siegenthaler was really beaten severely in Anniston, Alabama. And of course, the Freedom Riders faced that kind of abuse everywhere they went, whether it was Anniston or Birmingham. These were people who had tremendous courage and commitment. And I was in medical school for the most part, when that was happening. But I have great appreciation for the Freedom Riders and what their work meant.
Okay. The desegregation of Grady Memorial.
Well, again, I don't remember many details about the desegregation of Grady. I think, like most hospitals in the South, they were segregated. The major and there were demonstrations against segregation at Grady, but as I look back on it, I think the major factor in the integration of hospitals in the South was the Medicare, Medicaid, and the provision that said that you could not receive Medicare, Medicaid funds unless you were integrated, which meant black physicians had to be able to practice in these hospitals, which was the issue that led to the major case in Greensboro.
And I understand even afterwards, there was a wing for black people, and they were seen by only black black doctors, excuse me, and then.
Yeah, and I don't know how long that went on at Grady, to tell you the truth. I don't remember how long that persisted. But that was true all over the South, that kind of segregation. There were even hospitals in the South where they didn't take black patients, and they certainly didn't allow black physicians to practice. So we came from that to the segregation of the hospitals, and then, of course, I think with Medicare, Medicaid, they're being required to take patients and to admit black physicians and dentists.
So let's talk about a little bit more about Warren Memorial, and can you tell us the dynamics in the room at that meeting where Dr. King was called upon to help calm the students and get you all refocused and to agree to the terms to wait a little while longer?
Well, let me just say, as students, we had tremendous respect for Dr. King. There was no question about that. However, we didn't always agree. We were students, and we didn't have the patience that some other people had. Dr. King, as you know, was ahead of his time in so many ways. He was not always ahead of the students in terms of what we wanted to do and what we felt we should do. And so there were times when we had to be cautioned that this was a movement and we needed to work together. We didn't always listen to that, but certainly we tended to listen to Dr. King most of the time. And Warren Memorial was and to tell you that I remember all the details from that experience, I don't remember all the details, but I remember the controversy, and I remember the role that Dr. King played.
A.T. Walden, I know, was a key figure, key leader in the movement. Were there more that you wanted to share with us